My friend Tom gave me a ring and asked me to come by. He's always got something new in his ever-evolving stash.
What's up, Ian?
Howdy, howdy. Just here to check out your treasure trove. You always got the cool stuff. What the heck are these things?
Chainsaws.
Wow.
I went yard sailing.
Yeah.
This is for, like, I think the big sequoias and redwoods.
Oh, yeah, this is a two-man job, no doubt.
You know you're in the presence of a true parts collector when his collection expands beyond anything practical. If you haven't noticed, there aren't a lot of giant trees out here in the desert.
What's up with this chassis?
That's a T-bucket chassis. Old, I think it's 60s or early 70s. It looks just like one I had when I was a kid.
Yeah, look at these ladder bars, pretty cool.
Yeah, and the hairpins in the front. Those are true hairpins.
For sure.
Yeah, I think you could consider Tom's style pretty conservative. He's got a flair for the wild stuff, but at heart, he really wants a car he can drive. You know, he is that traditional hot rodder. He likes things the way they should be, the way they were built back then, true to the era.
Anytime I get something hot rod like this, especially old stuff,
Right.
that I think you might be interested in. 'Cause
Yeah, no. It's
I'd love to see you do something with that.
You don't have to ask me twice. T-buckets, chainsaws, kitchen sink, count me in.
Let me show you what I really got you over here for.
All right, cool.
Oh, wow. Yeah, man, your truck's looking good.
Last time I saw this thing, it was just a heap of parts. It's come a long way.
I tore it completely apart, powder coated everything, and just cleaned it up, but it's still all the old parts. It's a 42 Chevy from World War II.
But this isn't 42. This
54 235.
Heck
First year
yeah.
235. That's a
You run that in the lowrider 54
yeah,
Chevy.
Yeah.
Right
That's
on.
what that came out of, was a 54 Chevy car.
Perfect.
I'm a sucker for any truck project, but walking in right away, I could tell Tom's going in a different direction with this one.
When I look at it now, it looks so darn stubby.
But it was a long bed. I shortened it 20 inches.
It's got like T-bucket proportions.
Yeah, I
now.
went online and I saw Ian Roussel cutting a chassis, and I thought, I got to cut a chassis now.
I learned a little something from that guy too.
It's pretty cool to inspire people to make a bold choice in their project. Just take 20 inches out of the length of the wheelbase, pretty substantial.
Oh, I see. You cut it right here. Okay,
Yeah.
yeah. That's what I would have done. Oh, yeah, and then you just box
Yeah.
it in a little bit. And you have a bed that's going to go on?
Yeah, that's the reason why I shortened it 20 inches, because when I shortened the bed, it looked best at 20 inches shorter. Squared it and tacked it, squared it.
You probably did a better job than I do.
I doubt that.
It's got the Highboy Roadster look coming at you for sure.
This thing's been all over the place. It was gonna be a hot rod, a dune buggy, then another hot rod. I wanted to do it to where it was two vehicles. It's a street rod, you know what I'm saying? And then you go home and the guys are all going out in the sands, and I want to take my truck out there. So I pull the headlights off and I throw the dune buggy wheels and tires on there, and it's a sand buggy.
Oh, heck yeah. That's what the
Yeah.
first thing I thought is. Like, it looks like it should be going off-road.
Yeah.
Now we're talking. As soon as Tom said, oh no, it's dual purpose, see, this thing's actually a dune buggy, that got my attention.
How's Mr. T holding up? He's looking good.
I love that truck, Ian. I do. That is the best thing I ever bought.
Nice. When I was building Mr. T, Tom stopped by a few times just checking it out. I knew he liked it, and I'm really happy. You know, we came to an agreement, and now it lives here, and it's a good part of his collection.
It's just fun to drive around.
Nice.
Because everybody goes, hey, that's Mr. T. And they want to stop, and we stop, and they get in it and take pictures.
It's looking as good as the day it left the showroom floor, man.
Yeah, I like this car.
Just don't tell the inspector. They wouldn't like to see an animal of the feline persuasion enjoying the fruits of our labor.
Yeah, I mean, just standing back and looking at this, I love the short wheelbase. It just looks a little bit too like a triangle right now, you know, equal proportions.
Yeah.
I think just a little down in the roof line would sell this. Yeah, it's interesting. I didn't realize it until he stood in the front. That rear window is way up there, huh?
Yeah, look at it. You can't even see the rear window from the front.
That's what I'm saying. Interesting.
Yeah, that's just something odd about that.
Knowing Tom and what he's into, I could see a pretty clear path to kind of remedy the situation, improve on some, and just find exactly what he's looking for in the end. Honest Ian's one-stop chop top, in session.
I have another cab. It's outside here.
So if we mess up, we could just start on the next one?
Yeah. Actually, yeah.
I got a couple ideas regarding that.
Now you got me excited. I can't wait to see this thing done.
All right, man. Well, while you're all enthusiastic, bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, I say we just get into this.
Whatever you want to do, Ian.
Oh, famous last words. Ian, do whatever you want. I mean, we both know I've got some pretty wild ideas from time to time.
I think we just cut the top right off and just discuss.
Oh, that sounds good.
I don't even know where it'll end up. We'll just kind of take it one piece at a time, as they say.
Okay.
I'd say there's some concern. I know the sound of a concerned cat, and she's definitely on guard, so we'll just take it slowly.
She thinks it's her truck is what it is.
This one's gonna be inspecting the entire process, I think.
This is nothing new. I've dealt with furry inspectors of all kinds. I'll have her purring in no time.
All right, well, I brought two options to start with. We got the mellow and the kind of mellow. So what do you think?
No, this one here,
Like the blue one?
Yeah.
This is 2-inch tape, so that'll be a 2-inch chop. Let's start by just nipping at this. If you want more, we can go more. I like to start wherever the body has some kind of identifying feature. You wouldn't mind pulling that welder over here.
It's about to get real, huh?
Oh, it's about to get real. It's like your wedding day, right? It's all fun and games until you're walking down that aisle.
Until Ian gets going.
This is the last time you'll see your truck in one piece, ever. I mean, for the next couple days.
This is a story I'm very familiar with. You know, it's as old as time. One minute, Tom and I are talking, laughing, discussing. The next minute, I'm cutting his truck in half. Could be a little unnerving. I'm used to it, but first-time client, not so much.
Yeah, so something sort of like that, maybe?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I like that. I do. I think that window opening looks better than the original window opening.
And you could see,
It does.
I cut it more than 2 inches.
What's that? You did cut it more than 2 inches?
That's more than 2-inch chop.
Okay.
I couldn't help it. Never trust a
That's
man
cool.
with a grinder in his
Yeah,
hand.
with the cutting wheel, yeah.
Cool, let's chop the other side off.
All jokes aside, you know, when I was looking at it, to my eye, it's all about the proportions. So I'm an overachiever. I cut it a little bit more than 2 inches.
I think we're both in agreement. This back window should stay the same size.
Yeah.
So we'll cut below. We'll do the chop through here in the back wall.
When you start cutting something apart, especially it's got different shapes to it and different curves, you're in trouble. Unless you know what you're doing, you're in trouble.
You're making your own puzzle, that's the thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Right now, it's just the picture. Right now, we're gonna puzzle it and then figure out how to make it lock back down. In the back, I'm gonna show you a pretty cool idea for this window. If we were to draw this, say, on graph paper, right? If you took a straight back view of this, you'd have this checkerboard, right? So the most horizontal line, I think, would be this window. The idea being, when that comes straight down, you don't have any zigzag in the connection, so when you weld it, you're not trying to fill gaps. So those are just two reference points of being parallel. So now we're hitting on that trim, and we're 3 1/4 to 5 1/4. And then this is the 2-inch chop through this area.
I got you now. I'm nervous but excited at the same time. I think you know what that means. I'm all on board here.
I remember my first date, don't worry.
Okay. I fell out of the back of a truck on my first date.
We'll just keep it at a strict 2 inches all the way around. We'll set the roof down, and then we can make adjustments from there.
Just the attitude of this cab in general, it's already got kind of that, you know, forehead down appearance. So no rake in the chop, just straight down all the way around. True story, I learned this whole thing by watching Gene Winfield. That blue Packard is a perfect example of this, you know, pretty bold, huge amount of work. I mean, it is a puzzle in the end because it's taken apart, shapes change, and you gotta put it back so it looks like the perfect picture. It's a little bit of math, but it's also just a lot of envisioning, you know? You sit back and watch this dissected, exploded view of what it could be and how's it come back together.
Are we done, Ian?
Theoretically. I mean, this is actually the first time I've ever done this, so surprise, surprise. Now you got yourself a roadster.
We got the cut, now we got to do the paste. That's where the rubber hits the road on this puzzle piece chop top.
All right, man, I think it's that time. Put it on and see how far out of shape we got.
The way I laid it out makes it look really straightforward, but there's a million places to go wrong. That's the way I have learned through trial and error, a lot of error.
So let's just line up the back wall and see where we're at. Looky there.
From the side, right? That looks pretty groovy.
The proportions are perfect. This may sound funny, but it doesn't look like you chopped it, but it does look better. It just looks good.
I like it. Yeah, I mean, you can see now it's got attitude, right? 2 inches isn't a big chop at all, but it does something.
Man.
The first look is the most exciting part of the whole project. You get to see all the potential before you put in the blood, sweat, and tears before the rest of the project comes together.
I feel 100% better now.
Well, that's good news, because the work hasn't even started. This thing has just been nipped. It's time to get into the actual surgery.
Uh-oh.
In talking with Tom, he made it very clear that he wants me to just focus on the chop while I'm here. This project has been his baby, long-term deal, and he wants to finish it up on his own. It allows me to really take my time, discuss with Tom, and teach him a bit on exactly what it takes to pull through this. This is where the issue of putting the puzzle back together starts. We're a solid inch smaller. The typical thing you'll see so much is they cut right through the center of the roof and split it. They widen the whole thing. But that means you have to pin in this 1-inch band across the whole span of the roof, right? And that gets complicated. That could get all warped out of shape. It gets real weird. So I have an idea that will help us with that.
Okay.
It's always interesting to work with new clients. Tom and I have been friends for a while, but never really worked together in this capacity, so I wasn't sure what he was expecting me to show up with, like a whole kit, special tools, this, that, and the other thing, and I show up with a bottle of water and a welder.
Are you finding, is that how you're finding the high spot?
I guess sometimes my bare bones approach is a little surprising. This is gonna pop the roof into 2 pieces right now, front and back. Let's see how it falls apart.
What the heck?
I literally had no idea what just happened. I just thought it was like a piece of the brackets from inside the truck. You know, I'm walking away and Tom's like, those are dinner spoons in the roof.
They're military, I think. Look at that.
And then there's 42.
U.S. Marine Corps.
Oh, wow.
Archaeologist here now.
I've never put a utensil in the roof rail of my vehicle. Like what? Did they just like steal them from the mess hall? Like that midnight chocolate pudding adventure, it's on tonight. Clink. All right, now back to our regularly scheduled chop top. Ta-da. That's just zip right into place.
Oh my God, everything lined right up, Ian.
Everything lines up like a puzzle. People look at it and it doesn't look like it's too tall. It looks right now.
Yeah. Or they're gonna go, what's different about that cab?
So my mom said the day I was born, something different about this.
Now, you know, Ian, I don't want a sunroof. You know that, don't you?
Yeah, no, they got a plan.
Okay.
You know the cab that you have, the duplicate?
Yeah,
Let's take that and we'll scavenge the pieces we need for this.
I'm okay with that.
It's not every day when I have a spare, complete, identical vehicle at my disposal while I'm doing a project like this. You know, typically it's the exact opposite way around. They got half a vehicle and they need me to build an entire one out of that. Wow, so what's the story with this?
It is a cab that I sold a friend of mine years ago, and he was just like me. He changed his mind. He got off on a different project and he gave it back to me, if you can believe that. He did cut it up a little bit, but you can see that they suicide in the doors.
Oh yeah, wow.
And he was gonna chop it, he just didn't get around to it.
I mean, they channeled it, huh?
Yeah.
There's 2 ways to look at it, right? This could have potential to be a great creation, or it's in such fine shape it makes the awesome donor vehicle. Everything about this is clean, clean, clean. Just in looking at it, there's a few key pieces of this that make it worth chopping up as a parts truck.
And look behind you, there's the Doom Buggy wheels and tires.
Oh, this is part of the different look kit?
Yeah.
Heck yeah. The authentic beach buggy wheel.
That's what I remember as a kid. The guys ran just the white wall tires just blown up.
Before they had paddles
Yeah.
or anything,
Yeah.
right? Tom is a darn good parts sourcer. Like every time I show up at his place, it's like, where do you even get that? For me, that really short steps my operation because it's like they're doing the footwork and I get to select. It's kind of a shame we're cutting this all the way apart, but it's also kind of not a shame because we're ending up with a really clean custom deal.
It'll make this one perfect. I love the chop. I can't believe how fast you got to this point, and it makes complete sense when you see how you do this.
This thing is red hot.
We got one on the grill and one ready for the frying pan. Prepare your appetites for some freshly prepared chop tops. After Tom and I really stepped back, looked at what we set up, we both agree that this is exactly the direction he's going. And now the fun begins. With this, I'm really trying to utilize that cab as much as possible to minimize the amount of welding and the amount of oddball gaps I'd have to fill in. So I'm gonna try a little give and take on these two cabs. This is kind of like the best of all worlds, you know, having a complete replica of the vehicle you're working on to just dice up. I mean, that's living the high life. This back wall goes in as is. It's a straight shot, 2 inches lower. Kind of like Tetris, you know, when the blocks are coming down, you got to figure out where they go. It's like right now, I'm just kind of spreading it, and I don't want it to crunch up in any place as I'm putting it together. I think that's my favorite thing about being a fabricator in this capacity is like I don't do the same thing twice ever. You know, same kind of process, but always a different challenge. That's the spice for me.
When you're working with gaps this tight, I use a razor blade to stick in there because it's the thinnest thing around, because you don't want this stuff lapping over itself. You want it right. That's a perfect butt weld. Just gonna start to tack this together. Nice and cool, nice and slow, and get started.
There's one book I always point people to that asks me about how do I chop a top. The book's called How to Chop Tops. Worth every bit of reading. And then find yourself a junk car and ruin it.
With that back sheet metal fixed, let's put on the A-pillars, get this windshield surround in place. The reason I'm doing it in this order is because rear sheet metal is gonna be the most delicate part of these two pieces. These pillars, you know, the structure isn't that big a deal. It's the sheet metal that'll get weird on you. Right now, this is laid out smooth, and if I do have to give a little wiggle up here, this will all kind of stay in the same plane.
Knowing where you want to end up before you start and learning to see trouble before it really develops. Those are the two keys.
The A-pillars, they're pretty parallel. So in the 2 inches coming out, I mean, it's just 1/8 of an inch change in the width. Look, right straight down. I have the width established now, but I'm trying to get this right in line. You can see it's just a little bit out. This cab had damage in the drip rail, but I just repaired it because I took out 2 inches where the damage was, but the drip rail was actually mashed back a little bit. Now the B pillars, I'm gonna leave a little loose because I want to address this right now. I don't like welding that close together if I can avoid it. But since I have this cab, I'm just gonna utilize this piece if it's the exact same stamping in here.
It's a bit of a different job having this donor truck available to us because it really simplifies the process. There's almost no fabrication. All the replacement pieces don't have to get made. They just get taken from that vehicle. Simplifies the amount of welding. Lucky for me, I'm used to living in a not so perfect world. Back in the 40s, I guess things weren't super specific. They're darn close, but they sure ain't the same stamping.
So you can see everything in the world is not exact. That drip rail is just a little bit different contour towards the bottom.
Either way, we have a few bridges to cross. These cars don't like to build themselves.
I'm gonna continue weld the roof skin, and then later I'll put a flat bar in there and I'll hammer that drip rail to exact specifications. That's it, that's the structure.
How to fill in this hole in the roof.
Tom didn't want no sunroof, and he ain't getting no stinking sunroof. Time to butcher the cab.
By butcher, I mean extraction, precision. It's like that game Operation, you know, with the tweezers. One wrong move, you're out.
Tell by the slice in the roof, we're gonna need about 2 fingers more.
So we're gonna make that roof cap 4 fingers more.
Let's cut this off and see what we're working with.
With a piece of vintage Americana like this, we have to handle it in the most delicate way. If it has any dome at all, we're gonna just try to remove a little bit of it. Just flatten it out just a wee bit. Look at that. Little crazy glue. You're ready to rock. Notice the gap here. As I trim this donor roof back towards this cut, I can get them to really get closer. So they lap maybe only by 1/4 of an inch. See here, we would have had to cut this strip straight through the entire roof. And this just spreads out the work, a lot cleaner end result. So that's pretty much it. Clamp it and slowly weld it back into place. I gotta say, the dome on this roof is looking good. It's coming together. The next challenge is to get these door tops fitted up and welded on. Slow and steady. Takes a long time to weld this sheet metal back together, so I don't want to overheat it. And if that gets upside down or warps, big trouble. I'm happy with the way that this is progressing. You can see how it's developed with these 2 vertical cuts on each side of the rear window. The curvature of the roof needed to be shrunk in a little bit, and that's standard procedure on a cab like this to make a better contour. This structure is fully in place. This roof cap adds a huge amount of torsional strength to the cab. I'll patch this in last, but I want to do this door top surround using a piece of this original door and a piece of the donor cab door. I did notice that these cabs are slightly different, but I'm hoping that these door frames are identical. I try to avoid stacking welds. If you're making a deck or doing roofing, you always stagger the seams, right? So you got seam, seam, and I'm gonna try to put one back here. I don't like that join up at all. I'm looking at the fit up and man, that's a big difference. I mean, can these cabs really be that far off? Oh, it's in the 2-inch piece. That's what it is. It's in the section of the chop. Let me find that thing. Pretty good at holding on to used parts, but keeping them organized, that's a whole different story. It's not that one. There's one here. Oh, brother. I've done it now. Good thing we don't take out the trash. No. Possible that feline inspector is sabotaging me. You know, I saw her giving me the side eye as soon as I pulled that grinder out of the box. Oh, I don't fold that easy, cat face. There it is, the missing link. I gotta put that back on and start above that. Oops. The mark of a true professional is how you handle your mistakes, right? So thankfully that thing was still in the room. As I was saying before that brief interruption, let me mark it, cut it, and see how it lines up. Trying to use this, but they're just not the same. Let me see what this one looks like. Sometimes it's hard to think with 30 million degrees of sun rays penetrating the shop. If you've never tried working in the Mojave Desert in the middle of July in a steel building, you ought to try it sometime.
What's up, Ian?
Whew, it's hot.
Wow.
It's getting there.
It's got a top on it.
Yes, sir.
Oh, wow, man, that's cool.
So yeah, what I'm doing is I'm hammering it with a dolly, welding some more, and working through it.
Yeah, I like it. That looks really good.
For me, it's all about that first impression. You know, how do you feel when you walk right up and take it in? Getting fresh eyes in the mix always helps.
I look over there and it's just too tall.
Yeah.
This doesn't even look like they're the same truck anymore.
For sure.
It's like, this is a cool version of that one. You know?
It is. This one's got an attitude, whereas that's like
Yeah.
Mr.
Yeah.
Abraham Lincoln hi-hat, right?
And that rear window is perfect now.
Yeah, coming around the side, you see that thing
Yeah.
looks like it should be there.
Yeah, it just looks proportioned right now.
Everything worked out perfect with the dome swap. I was a little concerned because I'm finding subtle differences in these body stampings, believe it or not, but I know the roof caps are identical, so laid it right on.
You know, these cabs, I've noticed little differences through all the years,
Yeah.
42 through 46. It's possible we could have a 41, you know what I'm saying? But I wouldn't know the difference.
It's nothing that I'm not used to. You know, that's the story of my life. Figure it out, make it happen. Right now, I'm just working on buttoning up the last adjustment of this, and I'm gonna try something with that door section.
What I'm hoping to achieve here is not have the double weld, right? So
Yes.
it's just a single weld. But you can see these stampings aren't exact. You got your inner flange here, and then look, it's a good 1/8 of an inch difference.
Tom's got great timing. You know, it was smooth sailing on the rooftop when he wasn't here. Then when he shows up, of course, it's mismatch central with this door top issue. Never fear, I still have a few tricks up my sleeve. That's one of the beauties of working with metal. You know, it seems so rigid, but it's very malleable. You can work it.
Man, I don't know how you did it, but I can hardly see the difference right here, right now. You fixed it.
Yeah, man. It was, I just welded the bottom, and then I used the clamp, and
Yeah.
I just drew it up, so the heat kind of allowed it to stretch upwards.
Man,
I'm pretty sneaky, man.
the two trucks together right there. Look at that. Yeah.
Shuts like it's supposed to.
Man, I'm sorry that you know what though? That's been the biggest monkey wrench so far, right?
Yeah, very
Is that-
minor, too.
Yeah.
Very
Okay.
minor.
Okay. I'm glad you said that. I don't know what difference between minor and major is on this stuff because I've never done any of this, but
Major problem is when I can't figure it out.
All in all, I think it's a darn good fit up. In the end, the donor cab really did streamline this.
All right, last part of the puzzle, the piece that I took out of the corners, I'm just gonna reuse that and then patch in the top right here.
you found everything in my shop, huh, Ian?
Kind of a snoop like that, man. You should see me at my friend Bill's house. I know where all his best projects are, man.
You know, you look so easy that everybody at home's going, hell, I can do that.
You can, man. It just
Takes a screwdriver and a welder.
yeah, and 30 years of messing it up. And then you start to get the hang of it. Well, that's the story, sir. I'm just gonna keep on welding, and pretty soon you'll have a truck again.
I'm excited, man. Look at that. That's just one of these here, you know.
It's really gonna take just welding to finish this cab up. I'm gonna pick at it for a couple days, and I'm looking forward. Tom says we can get this thing in a mock-up pretty quick, but I wanna get back to my shop. I got another project that's been prepared that I wanna get into.
Now we're off on a little two-wheeled adventure. This is gonna be fun. This is my friend Kai's chopper. It's a 1980 Harley shovel head, and this is kind of his baby. He passed a couple years ago, and his wife contacted me saying, hey, you know anything about this?
I met Kai pretty early in my career, and he was always a huge supporter of my efforts. Kai was just a really intellectual, interesting kind of dude, and his fascination with Harley Davidson specifically pretty much defined his character. He was heavily involved in the magazine industry as both a writer and an editor, and we pretty quickly became good friends.
I remember this bike always being in Kai's garage. Being that he worked for Easy Riders and had a lot of ties with Harley Davidson, he always had these brand new Harleys to ride, and his sweetheart was always in the corner of the shop. I don't know why it got disassembled. This is the result. The proverbial basket case. Valerie asked me if I could restore it, if I could bring it back to life. They have a charity organization now, and this will kind of be something like a tribute to Kai, his life, and Kai's memory. Whenever I was working with Kai, it was always kind of focused on my project, right? Now it's all about him. I don't want to say it's like the odd couple, but Kai and I being friends for like 15 years, it was sort of like I was the wild and crazy guy, and he was the more conservative, mature biker dude.
I'm still not 100% sure which way he's going. I see the fiberglass sort of like dripping off the damn thing, and he can probably work wonders with a Kawasaki, but it's a Kawasaki, you know? It's not meant to look great. And there's only so much you can do, even Ian. I have seen nicer bikes though in my life. I can't say I've seen uglier ones.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
Now, I consider it an honor that Valerie would ask me to do this, like in his memory.
In talking with Valerie, she was convinced that there's still a bunch more parts of this bike around. For right now, I'm gonna really just focus on the stuff I do have, and it's purely mechanical.
The engine is free, it's got compression, and it does kick over.
One thing that Kai was always really proud of was this was built by Denver's choppers. You know, it's the real deal.
I never noticed it, but on the engine, it's got their timing cover Denver's was like known for these like long bikes, you know, thin and really long, stretched out chopper style stuff. And I don't know, I'm not seeing that on this bike. So it's like, what's the story? Who twisted the arm and said, I don't want that kind of bike, right? He ends up with a wide glide and the big headlight on the front from Denver's. It's interesting. I did a trike project, had a little sort of Denver's choppers influence in it.
Denver's Choppers is primarily known for the long bikes, you know, the forks way out, the easy riders, kind of cowboy on his iron horse into the great Wild West. I built a trike that had that type of flavor. Of course, it was 3 wheels, but pretty low, really raked out, tall, skinny tire on the front. I mean, I've dealt with the whole pile of parts scenario and reverse engineering my whole career. Yeah, if something's missing, I might have to make it look like it was. If you know Kai, you know he's very particular about his bikes, you know, the overall aesthetic, the style of it, the drivability, of course. I kind of understand what he liked, you know, something that you see here, nothing really far out, nothing too artsy. I think I'm just gonna try to rein it in. That's one thing I know about Kai, was he was that maintenance dude for sure. You know, he loved his motorcycles. So it doesn't surprise me that this thing is preserved so well. It's a pretty chunky fork, I like it. When Valerie asked me to get involved with the project, I didn't know what state the bike was in. And I know that they relocated, they moved twice. The bike went into storage apparently, and that's about all I knew about it. That's the sign of a good chrome job, is when it can sit out in a shed for 15 years and polish right back up. I'm really digging this back tire, you know. This has got a little bit of oval slots in it. Pretty groovy. All right, let's put some rear suspension on. And last but not least, the old front tire. Now we're getting somewhere. It's starting to look like a chopper, baby. Pretty formidable looking machine. I think I'm kind of like that. Knees in the breeze, bugs in your teeth. It appears that all the mechanical parts, as far as what I could tell, are here. You know, I'm still waiting for the other shoe to drop, but I don't see why Kai would take his bike apart and just scatter it to pieces. I don't know, it looks good so far. Valerie says she's got some more parts for it. I'm gonna head over there and see what she was talking about. It's got a good look. Little search and rescue mission. I came up solid. Found pretty much everything. This is the rear fender. There's the front fender. Got a tank, and then the little piece that goes between them. And a seat. This bike's never fell over. That's what I was worried about, you know? It's like, oh, that's why they took it apart. It got crashed, right? One of the tanks is destroyed. Nope. I'm digging the paint job. It's a little beat up, though. Seeing all the pieces are here, and they're in what appears to be perfectly usable condition. I mean, that's the mission, right? It's like, let's just get this thing dialed in, assemble it, hope to heck it works. That bike was pretty crusty. I used 2 cans of oven cleaner on the engine, the foamy stuff, and man, it shined right up. I gotta get this running ASAP. You know, I don't wanna get teary-eyed or sentimental in an exaggerated kind of way, but right? It's like the man and his dog, the man and his bike. It's that kind of relationship, and like this was his jam, you know? He rode this thing everywhere. I do so much full custom stuff. You know, it may seem that almost nothing is sacred to me, right? But, you know, something with this type of history, Kai being such a close friend, you don't change that stuff, you know? There's plenty other stuff in the world. This one is his, and it should stay that way. Valerie told me that the biker's name was Purple Haze. Mr. Conservative biker guy driving a purple flamed Harley. All right, we see you. This looks like it's been rubbed on something white and it's on top of the clear coat. The question is, can I salvage this paint? Everything's just showing its age. We're all showing our age. It's part of the journey. Look at that, it came right off. It's looking purpler by the second. This paint job is sweet. No amateurs were building this bike. It's got that pearly effect. I think it's gonna shine up real nice. I got this stuff from 3M. I'm gonna go at it with 1,000 grit and then bring it all the way to 3,000 and then polish it. Try not to get into the actual paint, just stay up on top on the clear coat. Try to knock some of these scratches off. Yeah, it looks like I'm not gonna have to re-clear any of this stuff. Yeah, I gotta say that this is a little bittersweet
because I was like, oh man, the gates are wide open, right? There's no fenders, there's no tank. Time for me to restyle it. And then that looming voice, don't put no junk on my bike. Thinking maybe some divine intervention or something. Miraculously placed these pieces of the bike right in front of me. All right, one more fender. You know, in my defense, I never put any junk on his bike. I just enhanced it a bit. And I also saved it from burning down to the ground.
Whoa, whoa, whoa! Holy shit. I guess you don't have a fire extinguisher, huh?
I got 3 fire extinguishers right on the wall, and I'm like, I don't want to mess up his bike. I know what these things do, so I'm just hoping it'll go out. That sucker is flaming. It's 7 feet tall. I gotta use the extinguisher.
I'm just glad you remembered you had a fire extinguisher. I was looking around all over the place.
I knew where they were, but I'm just like, I don't want to make a mess. It's only Kai's motorcycle. I don't want to dirty the floor.
Thanks a lot.
You could say, this is number 2 that I'm saving.
You know, I'm not known for Mr. Polish and Shine, but right now, that's where my head's at. I think it's pretty cool that the bike didn't need a new paint job. 22 years ago, there it was, brand new. 22 years for a motorcycle that's driven, that's a pretty good run. So pretty neat to see it looking identical, just aged.
Yeah, now it's starting to fill out. These tanks look great. I was wondering why the headlight looked like his bug eyes, right? Look how the top of the headlight's sticking out of the can. That's how much they raked it. So that you could see straight. See, that headlight should be vertical. I want to get this thing running. I'm gonna wash these tanks out, charge the battery. Next stop, showtime.
Bike's kind of a unicorn with the wide glide forks and the real skinny tire. It's a different look, but it's definitely raked. It's a chopper, lots of power. It moves right along. They're like giant mini bikes. This bike brings me right back to hanging with Kai. This is exactly how he wanted it to be, you know? He was on 2 wheels all the time. This bike is a real testament to that. I am stoked. I think Kai is smiling from somewhere else. This bike has got attitude. Something about a Harley. They're all shaking and loud and I gotta say, it looks like he just got off the bike yesterday, you know? Just leaving it as is. A fresh cut and polish on that old paint brought the life back to it. Just a testament to how well he cared for this thing. The mystery still stands. I mean, we don't know what happened, why this bike was disassembled, but I feel really privileged to be a part of it, and instead of it just being a pile of stuff in the corner, it's on display. I think it's a really good showpiece for their charity foundation. It's gonna get everybody's attention. Here it is, right? Back to life. That was the one wish that Valerie said. She's like, you know, that was our life together, was the motorcycle and the touring, etc. So for me, it was like, no doubt, I got you on that. That's all I could say, Kai. I did it. There's no junk on that bike. It's just the way you like it. It's a proper motorcycle. It's a chopper, baby. I'm gonna put some miles down in this desert before I take it back home, though. I'll tell you what, it's got a full tank of gas. I'm ready to move it. Did all the welding and grinding, came back to my friend Tom's shop, and he's got some progress on this thing. It's looking like a truck now. It looks good with the bed. I mean, the proportion of the roof height now and this.
It made everything look better. I primered it too because I wanted just to get an idea of what it looks like as a complete truck, because I want to get it going and I want to drive it.
Right, keep the inspiration
I want
going.
to drive it, yeah.
Tom said he's been with this project for years and years. He's in no rush to finish it, but I think chopping this top lit a little fire under him.
Not even any body work done yet. Look at that. It just looks nice.
Yeah, it's crazy how 2 inches really does make a difference.
Yeah, it's a little too long.
Tom immediately walking in the door, he's like, look at the bed. Even though it's shortened 20 inches, I still got to shorten it more.
I think the bed should be cut off right at the end of the chassis right here, right at the springs.
Yeah, I agree with you. That way it's got that whole stubby look, you know, like an off-road truck. That's what you're doing. You're pulling all the overhanging sheet metal in. I like you finished off the grill and the headlight.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Thank
Super
you.
clean.
Appreciate that, yeah.
Looks good, man. I want to see with those Buggy tires. This is you're going to the market, right? But once you're out of the dunes, I want to see it in action mode. The thing that hooked me from the start was, yeah, it's going to be a beach buggy. You know, it's going to drive on the sand, and I'm almost like, oh, heck yeah. Right now, it's got the big and littles, it's got the hot rod look. You know, I want to see it in full fun mode. Pretty cool that you're able to find those wide rims and 6 lug.
You want to hear something crazy? I bought these at a yard sale 40 years ago.
Huh. I'd call this a long-term success story. You know, Tom's looking at it like, yeah, finally, right? After 40 years, I mean, I was 11 when he started this truck.
In a 1961 Hot Rod magazine, this is what they had. They had tires ballooned over the rims. I think the reason why they're usually white walls, that was the bigger tires. That was for the bigger cars. Like the Cadillacs and the Packard.
Oh yeah, paddle tires
had
didn't
junk
exist.
stuff, yeah.
For sure.
They didn't have paddle tires back then. If they did, most people couldn't afford them, so.
Tom built this entirely in the vein of that first generation sand car, right? When they just had some old junk laying around, they would take some ratty old bias plies, make their own rims, and just do whatever they could to get some flotation on the sand. That says fun buggy.
Man, I forgot what they look like on here. Well, that looks cool.
See, that makes it look like a big toy. That's what tells you what it is. It's like, what?
That's a beast. Look at the track on that thing now.
I know, it's
so
super
wide.
cartoon, yeah. Okay, let's roll this thing outside. I gotta see what it looks like.
I'm on board, let's do it.
When you look at something, you get a feeling from it, right? So you look at this and it's not low and lean, ready to go 120 on the drag strip, you know? It's like, this thing's kind of a clown car. That's where it belongs, on the sand. And I mean that in the best sense of the word, like it's a fun buggy. Like you're meant to get in there and go have a ball on these sand dunes.
It's exactly what I wanted.
That's all it needed was 2 inches off the top and another 1.5 feet off the rear. This thing belongs on a Beach Boys album cover, man. Need some surfboards on there and you're cruising down the ocean. This is sweet. You know, anybody can go out and finance a sand car or a side-by-side and hit the dunes, right? But when you're out there cruising in the cookie cutter machine and you see this coming across the sand, whoosh, all eyes on that truck. That's what it's about.
Oh, it just looks so good. Kind of like the black rims too.
Yeah, I think the biggest takeaway for me is like, you can't buy good vibes, right? So the horse trading, the working with friends, that type of thing, that's really the way I operate.
Thank you, Ian.
Yeah, right on.
I appreciate you doing that, I really do.
Yeah, I can't wait to see what other good treasure you dig up, man. Now this truck, it's contagious. It's got me thinking, you know? I got the Model A body. I got some sand tires. I got an old chassis. Who knows what could happen? Maybe Tom wants to race.